Okay, as part of the series of episodes I'm doing on how to study the Bible, I came across Bill Mounce's book for $21 on Kindle on teaching classical Greek. And at the same time, he made many classes free online. The introduction, it turned out, at first I thought it was the entire program, but I just at the end, the very end, it indicates that it's $79 for access of 12 months of his remaining 16 hours of videos, and or instead you pay $99, $20 more, and you get on a flash drive, a USB drive, all of the videos, all the 16 hours in MP4. And I would recommend that you do that so that you have a permanent archive of that. So the investment probably be close to $100 if you get the $79 1-year access plan, or it would be in addition to the $21 Kindle book, or and you could buy the hardbound. I just want to tell you that, but that's $39. So now you're getting much higher. And then so if you wanted the MP4s, the 16 hours, that's $20 more. That's 99. So $99 and $21 for the book in Kindle is 120, no, about $120 is what that comes out to. Okay, so here's the book that he's selling, and if you bought it as a physical book, it's $39.99. So think about that $21 Kindle price, which I'll show you in a second. That is virtually half price. So doing it electronically to me is actually superior anyway, because then you can research it anywhere you want, and it's always available. You won't lose it. The dog won't chew up the papers, pee on the book, whatever. His book is called His Book. And by the way, I get no referral fee or anything. I don't know Mr. Mouncey. It's my genuine belief that he is a good person. He has some biased things where he doesn't show you other meanings. For example, dysnotos, he doesn't tell you there's any other meaning than hard to understand. He doesn't tell you it means nonsensical, because it's only used once in the scripture, and it's only once uh, scripture in the New Testament, and it's only once translated. So therefore, I'm sure he justifies giving you a very limited lexicon answer there. But here's where he can't really cheat, which is he's got to teach you Greek, and he can't skew Greek. He's got to tell you the way it is, and he has to meet standards of education. I'm trusting that are neutral, meaning if you were in a Catholic school, you were in a Protestant school, or you were in a university that has no religious affiliation, every one of them have to teach Greek the same way. Okay, and but beneficially, I would say that Christians are more motivated to do this than anybody else. So obviously, there is a chance that they will pander to their audience. They will give them what they want. Remember, whenever you're getting paid to do something, you want to please that person. So if they know the majority of people are Christian, and if they know the majority of those people believe in faith alone, for example, or they love Paul, then they may skew things. But you know what? We can bear with it. We can maybe detect that, but I believe you're going to get a good, fair education from Mr. Mouncey, from what I've seen so far. And I may change my mind, because I'm going to go through this myself. I'm going to refresh my Greek, which I did in prep school when I was a very young man. Okay, so this was I actually ordered it, and it came back and gave me the order and showed me the price, so you can see what it is. The Greek for the Rest of Us, third edition, and you need to get the third edition. Even if you go for a written version, make sure it's the third edition, because all his videos and outlines are now synced to the third edition online. So $21.99. Okay, I guess we can call it $22, but it's virtually half off the normal price. And then basically what you have to do is you can actually use, many people who see the word Kindle, they know that means the Amazon area, Amazon books, and they think, well, I have an iPad or I have an iPhone and I can't even use Kindle. Well, there's an app where you can use Kindle in the iPhone or the on an iPad, and I use it mostly on my iPad. So I have a bigger screen. iPhone, I think, is a little too small, but it can work too. And that's the nice thing about electronic; it can shape to the text to fit the size of your screen. So if it's a iPhone, it'll enlarge the text so it will fit your screen. That's a really amazing thing too. All right, and now this is the YouTube. Excuse me. This is the URL of Bill Mouncey's website where you can learn more about this, and it's www.billmounce, that's BILLMOUNCE.com/Bible Study Greek/class, and you can learn about the classes. Okay, so I originally didn't understand that you would have any lectures that would be paid, but as I explained, 16 hours are going to have to be paid for. In other words, either $99 for the MP4 USB stick, or $79, $20 less for just 1 year access to all the lectures online. And some people don't want to even have MP4s on their computer, maybe don't have room, so they may opt for the online version because that's just easier and as well as less expensive. But anyway, in his he had his page called Greek for the Rest of Us, where he says you can view the first several lessons for free. Well, that means the others are charged for, and that was something I didn't pick up right away. But here are the charges: $99 for the flash drive, $79 for the 365 days. And what are the lectures that are free? Well, it turned out they were pretty extensive, if you ask me. They were all these the orientation, and let's see, chapters 1 through. I mean, this is a lot of free stuff, right? You can just look up. That's 21 chapters basically, and then he's got some extra downloads too. So I mean, it seems to be yeah, it seemed to be pretty clearly a lot of episodes for free, but this doesn't have a video with it, so I'm not sure why that's in here. Let's go back here for a minute. All right. Well, look at all this stuff. He's got blogs and articles. Okay, so he has a lot of other things linked other than videos to make up this whole list here. So again, that's not readily apparent. You would assume these are these all have videos. So the first one, let's see, this has a video, right? It has course materials, orientation, class downloads, vocabulary, keynote, PowerPoint, 42 megabytes, vocabulary by chapter, recommended sources, Bible Hub, Scripture Direct, Blue Letter Bible. So we're going to learn a lot about what are other sources to look at for information. And then Greek for the Rest of Us is his book. He recommends The Interlinear for the Rest of Us, which is another book he is selling. So obviously he does promote some other works, but like I told you, he has an interlinear online that you can look at BibleGateway.com. So he's making his money through that, and every time someone goes there, there's advertising revenue that he gets paid for. So you don't have to. He's still getting paid if you use the free online version of his interlinear. Okay. So anyway, there's lots of things, but they're not all videos. It turns out when you look at this list here. But anyway, so what you'll see at that thing, at this URL, it'll say Bible Study Greek. Welcome to our Bible Study Greek class. For more information, see our landing page, so you can go back, and it'll give you more of an overview. All the free resources teachers and students will need are listed in the orientation lesson below. So this is even used by someone who wants to teach you. So you might want to be, you know, a lot of Greek and you want your friends to know Greek with you. Well, then do this. Take these steps. Do the $21 dive, or maybe the $39 if you need to have a book. And then you weekly get together with people to study these videos. And so we'll see how that works. Let's go next. And then Bill will set the Greek language. So I decided instead of looking at his introduction, I would dive into the first chapter. And the first chapter is called the Greek language. So now he's going to give you a background in the Greek language. Bill will set biblical Greek in its historical position and incidentally show that English does not come from Latin. Now that's written as if Bill isn't writing it. Bill's writing that, I'm sure. But he wants to make it, third person. He doesn't want to always be saying, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So that's fine. Then chapter 1, the Greek language. Bill will set biblical Greek in its historical position and incidentally show that English does not come from Latin. That doesn't mean that Latin isn't in English, but English does not come from Latin. We need to keep track. I'm going to take Okay, and at the Greek language right below it, numeral one, you'll see something called downloads, and you can download actually a PowerPoint. So you can actually see what Bill wants you to see, like I'm doing with you on these videos I present. I'm usually using PowerPoint with slides and information, and then I can talk topically about them from the slides themselves. All right, now, so when you download that PowerPoint and you start it up on chapter one, you'll see the first slide says the Greek language. And then he's going to tell you the different periods of Greek language, and he's going to put it in a time chart this way, and then he's going to just go through text after text. So he makes it as interesting. Actually, there's only about 5 or 6 slides. Okay, so now next below the PowerPoint is where he has lesson, and he'll say read Greek for the rest of us, pages 2 to 3. So you know your homework, you can read them, and now it says watch the lecture free. You see the word free there? So that's good. He also has homework. He wants you to study pages 1 and 2 in the workbook. So he has a workbook. Now that I'm not sure where that is or where that comes from, but we'll find out, I guess, eventually. I dug around and I still can't find any reference to the workbook anywhere, but I saw it said answers, and he had accordance, Bible study, and logos. So I thought, what is that about? Well, it's not the workbook apparently, but Bible study actually signifies Olive Tree as a study tool, an electronic online study tool, or alternative logos. He makes it clear that Bible study is much less expensive. And I really don't know what accordance is, and I didn't click the link. I want to stick with things I know. I know both of these, Olive Tree and Logos. And Logos I know is more expensive. I think we'll look into the pricing if I can get that for this video. But I went ahead and I started the process of downloading an app from Bibles. What his link was, well, here I'll press the link and you'll see. It's going to take you to configuring Bible study Olive Tree. Show you. If you tap the Logos button, you're going to get a similar thing from Logos, and he's going to tell you how to configure that uh, for purposes of doing your Bible study, and he's going to tell you to look at some Logos tutorials as well. Okay, so we'll go back now to the lesson, which is underneath chapter 1, and it'll say read Greek for the rest of us. That's the name of his book, pages 2 to 3. And then it's going to say watch the lecture. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then we're going to have homework. So after you watch the lecture, he's saying you're going to read this homework. And then we're going to do page 1 to 2 in a workbook. And then he says there are answers in Bible study, which is actually Olive Tree and Logos. And I'm not so sure what he means. Again, it's unclear to me what the workbook means and what answers means, because it's just simply he's showing us how to sign up for Logos or how to sign up for Bible study. So if you have Android, iOS, or a Mac, there are apps to download Kindle on there if you don't already have it installed. If you need to do it on a PC, there's a special step you need to take. You cannot do it through Windows App Store. So you have to go through Amazon, and then they will have this button here, and you press that button real hard. You won't see anything, and you go, what's happening? But if you look carefully, do you see where my cursor is down here? You're going to see it's going to download a full version of the installer there, and then press that and click that and go through the install and do your logins, and then you can read the book that you need to do for class. All right, so let's look at our adjusted screen here. So we have the lesson, and it says read Greek for the rest of us. And to the right, we have our our Kindle PC version of the app. And this is so far superior to what you'll see in the iOS app or the iPad app, iPhone apps. To me, the PC Kindle is superior by far for doing your homework. So for getting ready for class, and you'll see why in a second. All right. So yeah. So when you go to Kindle and you do your install, it's going to tell you there's some new things available. So that's excellent for me to explain to you. So you can now highlight key passages from the book. You can also add notes to individual highlights. And so you can leave it in a highlighted form with notes. And again, this is in your Kindle PC version. And then you can look at your notebook. You can review all your highlights, notes, images you've added, and bookmarks in one place. You can then create flashcards from your study notes or X-ray terms to help master an important concept. So I don't know what the X-ray terms mean yet, but we're going to find out together. Okay, so now I just want to show you how it appears when Bill Mounce is going to give you a lesson. So now you've studied, and now he's going to give you this teaching. And so if you're prepared, you've done your homework, you've read your 2 pages, you're now going to get a lecture. But before we do that, I just want to hold off the excitement. Is we're now going to go into the Greek for the rest of us text in Kindle online, so you can see what that's going to look like first. Okay, everyone. So now I want to introduce you to the Kindle app. This is on the PC, and with that, you get much more rich features than you do in the iOS or iPad environment, and I would assume in the Android tablet environment. So I would assume that what would correspond best to this PC version is the Mac full computer version. I believe there's so much more under the roof of this app on the PC than I ever get on my iOS devices, my iPad and my iPhone. So I just want to highlight some of that to you. So without any need for getting an Audible track with my program, with my book, it's already built in here. So listen to this. I'm going to just have it read the first chapter here. I'm going to just click that on. Hold on. Just give me a second more.
Chapter 1 The Greek language. The Greek language has a long and rich history stretching all the way from the 14th century.
Okay, so I think you can hear this is a high quality volume. And I think this makes a big difference in learning, because the key to learning is to lay down as many memory tracks as you possibly can. That could be listening, hearing the same words at the same time, seeing them with your eyes, then taking notes, highlighting them, thinking about why you're highlighting, then rereading your highlights, then making notes from your highlights in a separate box. This gives you that ability to make notes from your highlights and then organizes them for you. Then it gives you flashcards. There's a flashcard system here. I just show you real quick. So you can, I created one before. What is a verb of finite single moment in time? What is that in Greek? Well, if you don't know, it's the aorist tense, and I got it right. So I would then hit yay, and I got one right. That's one in the green and 0 in the red. So it keeps track of a test for you. And if you need table of contents, you just go over here. You can move around easily. And I want to show you another fantastic thing. Let's say you want to look up what's the word mycenaean mean. Watch this. The first time, okay, it's the new Oxford American Dictionary. Every meaning possible, the word mycenaean. And what happens is the very first time you press a word, you're going to see the entire new Oxford Dictionary has to download to your computer, 10 megabytes. It's not huge, but then every time you click a word, you can come up and get the entire dictionary like this. So that is a fantastic feature that you will never get in a regular textbook. And also it has, let me see, it has showing a notebook. So in the notebook, you can store notes. So you can, and they'll be here. So whenever you make a note, let's see how you make a note. How do we make a note? I think they mean this kind of note where you can, oh, yeah, that's it. So when you make a highlight, let's say you highlight 14th century BC, and you say, I want to add a note about that, right? So now it's yellow highlighted, and it has the word 14th century BC, and then you could add your own personal note. That means some people don't know this, but this is strange. But you could say this is in the 1300s, just to remind yourself, because a lot of people think 1400, 14th century would mean 1400 BC and higher. But no, it's the 1300s. It's just one of those strange things about dating, the words for dating things. So you just put in a note. There's your note. Now it says 1300s, right? So there's notes, and that becomes your notes and highlights. They're joined at the hip. So every note, every highlight can have a note, and I think that's great. You can add further information. Okay, and I want to show you can also create flashcards. So over here, I created one little flashcard, and I already did it. I'm going to do start over. The flashcard on the front. See, it says front up here. I don't know if you see that. Verb of finite single moment in time. What does that mean? What is that verb tense? And the answer is aorist. So let's turn the thing. You click it, and then it tells you aorist tense. I can say I got it right, and so now I've got it right. And but I'd already got it right before, so I don't get an extra score. But it shows I had gotten I already have one already solved, and now I can keep going through all my flashcards and go through a test of them over. So anyway, that is a great tool. That's another way of laying down memory tracks so that you won't forget anything. Okay, so we will now show you the professor, the professor. Yes, Professor Mouncey. He's in this role. He's now a professor of us to us. So let's go to him, and we'll see, and we'll wrap it up that way. Back.
Chapter 1 in Greek for the rest of us is just a really short introduction to the Greek language. I thought it'd be helpful to kind of have some historical perspective on Greek and which version of Greek we're going to learn. So,
Okay, so that gives you an idea of his teaching demeanor, and I think he's a very reasonably well-spoken person, and so he's articulate, and you can learn from him how to read Greek, and that's all you want to do. You don't even want to speak it, so that makes it a lot easier than trying to study to speak the language. So this is really far easier to do than you think, because you're not trying to learn how to speak it. It doesn't hurt to learn how to pronounce the words, but you don't have to try to form sentences yourself and speak to anybody in Greek. Okay. Anyway, I hope this has stimulated all of you to be interested who have time for this. But I don't think it takes a lot of time, honestly, particularly if you're using his methods and his videos, and you go at your own pace. And when you can, you do it. And if you can't, you can't. And so there's no pressure time wise, but except it's always good to go back at something and study one thing after the other in some proximity to one another. But I would say you do an hour every couple of days at least in your free time at home after work or whatever. And if you have more time, put about an hour and a half, 2 hours in at tops, and then leave it alone. And that, by the way, is learned as memory is better when you only study in increments of an hour to an hour and a half to 45 minutes, because then the brain rests and is processing and is able to, in that time when you think you're just washing the dishes, you're thinking of what you learned. This is how the brain works. It's working in the background, and it's re-recording everything it heard. And it's easier when it took in a finite amount of information, and now it can recycle it in off minutes. And then when you come back to it hours later, maybe even 3 hours later, or whatever it is, it'll be now refreshed and ready to learn new information and do the same processing. So that's how you learn yourself. You keep varying the topics you're studying. You don't read, 7 hours of one topic, one subject matter. You keep it in blocks that are finite, like an hour and a half tops, hour and 45 minutes. Okay, it's a little trick I learned in getting ready for law school. So hopefully that will help you to not overdo it. Don't spend 4 or 5 hours at this. I'm going to get it all done in a week. That's not how you learn anything. You learn in increments, and that's the best way to learn. And you'll learn deeper and more in the end, much, much better than if you try to cram it all into a large period of time. Okay, everybody, God bless. I hope that helps you, and you'll be excited to do this, and you can do it all on your own.